So I've been thinking a lot about dinner parties in the last several days and how much I miss them. Colin and I have a pretty diverse group of friends, and they're people who we love to get together with either at their house or our house and just enjoy each other's company. And you guys probably have friends who are like that too. And some of our friends, when we go to their house, it's exactly what you would expect it to be. Like the conversation is easy. The music that's playing in the background is music that we like. The food is very familiar to us. It might be even the same type of food that would make at our house. Um, and those are friends who affirm our identities. They're friends that we have a great deal in common with. And then we also have friends when we go to their house, we get to see kind of like a whole other world that is very different from ours. We get to try new foods. We get to hear different languages. We get to be exposed to different customs and traditions, and it helps us to understand humanity outside of our own, and that's important because who we surround ourselves with help to shape our own identities, and it's good to have a mix of friends um, who do both of those things, right? Friends who affirm our own identities, and also friends who push us to think past and to see past our own lives. And books do the same thing, right? I know it's crazy to compare reading to going to a dinner party, but in some ways they're really similar. So that's what I want to teach you today, is that readers will often select authors and read text that mirror and affirm their claim identities. And they choose window text that help them to begin to understand lives and experiences that might be unfamiliar. To begin this work, readers ask, do I have a mix of both? If not, what's missing? To help tap into their own humanity and that of those around them. So I thought that I would get you to just watch me do some of this work. Um, and I think probably the best way to go about it is to take a look back at my textual lineage. And when I'm looking at this, right, we noticed before that most of my reading that I did growing up was really identity affirming kind of work, right? A lot of mirrors. The books that I read mostly had male leads, most of them had um, white characters, white authors, and basically affirmed my claimed identity. Um, which pushes me now to think about how to fill in the gaps and how to get a better mix so that I can learn about other cultures and other worlds outside of my own. So my next step is to think about the books that I've chosen and the books on deck. And I want to ask myself, do I have a mix of these mirror text and these window texts that I'm talking about? So I'm just going to go to my shelfie because that's basically my books on deck list for now. And let's take a look at what I have. Well, I have The First Roll of Punk by Celia Perez and Harbor Me by Jacqueline Woodson. This book is Anti-Racist by Tiffany Jewell. Ghost Boys by Joel Parker Rhodes, and then the collection of short stories that feature a really diverse group of authors called The Talk. So right now I'm feeling like I have text that are going to push me to see other types of communities and other types of characters, um, other types of worlds that are different from my own. But I don't have a mix. And I've done that deliberately, right? So let me talk to you a little bit about why I've done that. If I think back over the books that I've read through my childhood, right, those books really have been identity affirming books, right? Most of my life was spent reading books by white authors with white characters that tapped into my own whiteness and my white privilege that I already know a lot about. And so now I think it's important that my list not be so balanced, because I have a lot of work to do to really get to understand other races, other genders, other cultures, all the things that push me to think outside of my own humanity. And just like those dinner parties I was talking about, right? The people that we hang out with shape who we are, and the books that we read shape who we are. So this is the work that I want you to do today, is take a good look at the books that you're reading, thinking back to why you're reading them, and asking yourself, do you have a mix of text that go beyond your own humanity? Are you going to see different kinds of characters who are different from you? Are you reading books by authors that are outside of your own claimed identities that will push you to see the world in new and different ways? So thinking about your work plan for today, you might take a look at your list and think, do I have a mix of both mirror text and window text? And what is it that you're missing? And if you're like me, maybe that you are constantly reading books that affirm your own identity, how can you push yourself to read some books that actually get you thinking about lives and experiences that are unfamiliar, right? So you don't want to just tap into your own humanity, but you also want to tap into the lives and world outside of our own bubble. And then you can always revise your list if that's some work that you feel like you need to do. If you need to change the books that are on deck, thinking about what you're going to be reading the rest of these weeks to come, you might want to do this. For me, this is ongoing work, right? My books on deck keeps growing with a variety of authors and characters who are pushing me past who I am, so that I can learn about other people and other places and other cultures and other worlds that are way beyond my own experience. So that's going to be something I'm doing constantly all year in the adult books that I'm reading, and then also in the young adult books that I'm reading too. So you might spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes thinking that over. You could always go to the class webpage and take a look at the virtual library and look at some of the text recommended there if you're looking to revise some of the books you're going to read. And then go ahead and jump back into the books you're reading and spend, maybe 30, 40 minutes and shooting for that volume goal of somewhere between 30 and 40 pages. Jot if you're jotting. Other than that, have a great time with your books.